My mum sat down crying, and she's like, after everything has happened, you're still a triple amputee. You can cry all you want, you're still going to be a triple amputee. So what are you going to do? It's like, so what now?
90 days at sea, 7,500 nautical miles, countless time zones, and I am done. Thank you everyone for supporting. That's 2 world records. Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm off to bed.
And that's how you become a better rounded person. And that's, a really defining character of a resilient, strong person.
Hello and welcome to Get a Shift On. This week I am so pleased to welcome Craig Wood, who has just completed a massive 90-day solo trip across the Pacific Ocean. 7,500 nautical miles, I believe, 2 world records, and Craig is a triple amputee. Craig, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I'm keen to get started on our talk.
Absolute pleasure to have you, really. And what an inspirational story. I know we just have a little chat off camera there. Just for everybody, explain to us where it all started, what's happened, and how you end up to be where you are today.
Yeah, so when I was 17, I joined the military as an infantry soldier. I did a year of training, went to my battalion, and then 3 days after my 18th birthday, I was sent out to Afghanistan. And this was 2009. So this was Herrick 10, which was one of the worst tours in terms of casualties and deaths that's been seen from Afghanistan. And so, I was in a pretty bad state when I got injured. A commando IED was triggered several feet in front of me, resulting in both legs amputated above the knee and my left hand basically where your watch goes. Facial scars, injuries, the lot. So from there, I got casevaced into hospital, and then a few days later I was in Selly Oak Hospital in Birmingham, where they patched me up good and proper. Yeah, I got to wake up to all my family surrounding my bed. Then the doctors give the whole sort of depressing but real view of what your life's going to be like. And in that talk, the doctors were like, you're probably not going to windsurf again. You're probably not going to be able to do any extreme sport like you used to do, because I used to like windsurfing, jet skiing, all of that water sport stuff. And the doctors had never heard of anyone doing anything like that with my injuries, so it was just a plain old no. And my dad was like, well, they've got Paralympic sailing, so what are you talking about? He went off, emailed some people as you do, and yeah, he came back shortly afterwards with a Paralympic development sailing coach's email address. But I'm in hospital half dead. So it was about a year afterwards until I actually got down to Weymouth, where the National Sailing Centre is, and sat in a boat for the first time, as after my injury. Yeah, it sort of spiraled from there, really. I was a professional sailor from 2012 till 2016. Boat that I was sailing was a 3-person keel boat. Our aim was to get to 2020 in Japan. However, in 2015, we heard that the 2020 Paralympic Games had removed Paralympic sailing from that event. So the last Paralympic sailing event would be 2016 in Rio. We weren't good enough to do that. We were the second best in the UK, but we weren't good enough on the world circuit to be able to do that. So sort of deflated, sort of lost again. I'd lost my job in the military, lost my sailing job because it's ceased to be. Having a beer in Melbourne at a World Championships, and some guy was like, look, I've just heard you guys have got no future. We're like, yeah, cheers for that. And he's like, come on my boat, and we'll have a little jolly out in the bay. That was sort of not a real career change. That to talk on what you do is you help people change careers. So this was more like a sidestep, but fear is in the unknown, right? I didn't know anything about that type of sailing world, but it's still sailing fundamentally. So my fears were, am I even going to be able to get on the boat? Am I going to be able to do anything while I'm on the boat? Is it going to be a comfortable experience for me? But getting on the boat was more than easy. And then when we were out sailing, I took the helm, and I was sort of stood on my little legs. I call them stubbies. And I was just like, this feels good. Not only good, this feels right. And I didn't really waste any time. From there, that was November 2015. By April 2016, I had my own boat. And then I was like, well, how am I going to do this? I've got a boat now. I need to learn how to actually do the charts, navigate, do all this. Got in touch with a charity called Turn Starboard. They taught me all the navigation skills, got me qualified up to a day skipper. And then I set off. From England, headed to France, went down to the Mediterranean, started sailing around the world, as it were. So I've been doing that for the past 8 years. But then, Alex, we gave birth to our first child on a boat. So he's a proper boat baby. Then our second child was due, and I was sort of getting this like niggly feeling in the back of my mind. I was like, I really want to do a give back. Like, if there's anything that I can do to raise money back for the charities that have helped me so much, I really, really want to do that. I've got the opportunity to, therefore I feel it's my responsibility to. And so I just started chatting to the wife. I was like, how are we going to get the boat across the ocean if we've got the 2 babies? Like, 1 baby's hard enough, but never mind 2 babies. And she's like, well, we're not going to be able to. And I was like, well, I really want to get to the other side of the world, She's like, yeah, so do I, but how are we going to do it? I was like, look, if I can raise money for charity, sailing the boat solo across the ocean, so let's say to Japan, let's just say to Japan, would that be all right? Would that like fix our problem of not being able to get very far? Because doing over a week with 2 babies, it's like, wow, you really need to plan specific days and what you're going to do every single day, because you can't just give them TV all day. It just rots the brain. So, and they get bored steering the boat because it's monotonous. So when there's something to do, it's, oh, kids, come up, pull this rope, push that button. Yeah, great. 90% of the time, you're not doing that. You just sat listening to a book or, working on the boat. For kids, it's not the best place. They need to like run around and do stuff. And then so my wife agreed, and she's like, right, well, what am I going to do? I was like, well, you could go back to Switzerland and they could spend some really good quality time with their Swiss family. She's like, yeah, okay. And then I was expecting a bit of pushback, but when she's just agreed and said, yes, okay, I was like, oh yeah, but then I was like, what? Wait, okay. She's like, yeah, you sail the boat to Japan and I'll go to Switzerland. And I was like, oh, it doesn't have to be Japan. I was like, that would be a really difficult sail. And she's like, okay. And then I was sort of thinking about it. I was like, yeah, but Japan's cool. And it's like a legitimate sail. So I was like, right, this will definitely raise money because it's one of the hardest sails you can do. Records are going to be broken because I can sail 100 miles and break a world record because I'm the only triple amputee doing what I'm doing. And I was like, but I'm not sure. Like, because at the time I was a bit in between whether or not I wanted to keep the boat that we were in or buy a new boat. And I just decided to go all in, and I was like, oh, I'm going to buy a new boat. It's a bit of a wreck. It needs work doing to it. But if I'm doing this trip, I'll get sponsorship and that should cover the cost. And it did. It did exactly that. So that was really good. And sort of as a gain of function to buying the boat, we got the sponsorship to refit it, which was amazing. And yeah, and then I think it was up until the day before, the evening before I was about to set off, I was still waiting for my life raft, and I was like, this is either going to make or break it, because I'm like, if this doesn't come, my window's going to close. And yeah, the very day before I was installing my life raft so that I could go, I was like, cool, got everything I need. Now we can go. So yeah, that's sort of like the quick notes on it. I'm sure you're going to want to delve into quite a lot of that. So yeah, I'll let you have a turn.
Yeah, amazing, mate. Where to start on such a roller coaster? Well, let's start with the most important bit first. Your wife said yes. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So I met Renata, my wife, in Gibraltar. So she's a Swiss architect turned world backpacker. She wanted to get to South America. And I was like, look, I'm sailing to Brazil. Come on board. And she did. And she pretty much never left, which is great.
Amazing.
Yeah. So she's got traveling in her bones, She made this big decision to quit a corporate job that was earning quite a nice amount of money and just sell everything. I'm going to go with a backpack, travel the world. So yeah, that's really good. And then so like traveling's in a bones. So when it was like, how are we going to get to another destination without, destroying the kids or ourselves in the process? How do we do that? And so you're just gonna have to do it, and then we'll meet you there. Cool. So she's quite a logical person as well.
Yeah. That helps, doesn't it? I think when you have that logic, and if you have that travelling in your bones, as you say, then that's it's kind of not easy, but I guess that makes the decisions easy because you know what to expect, you know how to do it, and you know.
Yeah, you're not fearing a completely unknown thing, right? It's just travelling again, Yeah.
And you talked as well about having the kids on board. That's incredible. I struggle to entertain my children sometimes on dry land when we live by the beach with, multiple options to entertain them. So having them on a boat, incredible.
Yeah, I actually find it easier in my own environment, which is the boat, to entertain my children than I do on land because I'm like, right, I don't really want to go for a walk because it's a nightmare for me to walk anywhere. Let's do some sports. And he's like, well, the only sports I'm really good at are like windsurfing, kite surfing, paddleboarding. And I'm like, all right, great. I don't have any of that equipment here. So I'm like, okay, I have it all on the boat. All right. So now I have to like try and figure out different things. But luckily all Renata's families are farmers. So it's like, let's go look at the goats, let's go look at the rabbits. And what child doesn't like doing that stuff?
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Obviously, all started in, just in the most tragic of ways. And that must have been so hard for you, for your family, when that first happened. And look, at any age it's bad, but so young and so early on, I guess, in your military career must have been absolutely horrendous. How did you start to overcome some of that hurdles? Obviously, you said about your dad getting an email from, sailing groups while you were still in hospital, which speaks volumes about the resilience that you have, because I'm sure that comes from your family as well and clearly been passed down. How did you start?
Yeah, I was maybe a week out of my coma. Couldn't speak because I have a tracheostomy, and that tears you. Well, for me, they went a bit deep and it tore my voice box. I couldn't speak at all. So I can't speak. Pinned, both my arms are like pinned into these foam slings, and I'm just laid on bed like this, and I'm just like, oh my God, what has happened to me? And I can see a clock, and my parents are obviously, every time they see me, they're crying. So it's mega, like, beyond emotional. And then I could sort of like move my head. And I remembered seeing one of the guys in a Rifles t-shirt. I'm Rifles Regiment, and I was like looking at him. And I think I'd already gone into like the whole stages of like grief, it had already all started because it's such a big thing. And the hallucinations that I had while in the coma were like trying to piece together what had happened. And I had some horrific hallucinations. However, when I saw this guy walk in, and I was like, you're right in my head. Your Rifles as well. Why aren't you as injured as I am? Like, why me? Why this bad? What did I do wrong? All of this. And then my mum was sat next to me when I saw this guy, and she knew exactly. She must have seen it on my face. She's like, Craig, don't compare. And then like, because I can't defend myself, I can't speak. I'm just like, roll my eyes, and then I just start absolutely bawling. And she left. And then my dad came in a few hours later, and he like sat down, prepared me. He's like, your mum's got something to say to you, and you can't say anything back, but your mum's going to say something, and it's a bit hard. I was like, okay. My mum sat down crying. And she's like, after everything has happened, you're still a triple amputee. You can cry all you want. You're still going to be a triple amputee. So what are you going to do? It's like, so what now? And I was like, in my head, I was like, what? You've just logic bombed me. You've just absolutely gone, this is a fact that you cannot change. So deal with it. It's like, cool. Easy enough to say. But I think I needed that because it really helped with the acceptance. And I think that I may have missed like a few of the stages of grief. Like I couldn't bargain. If I do this, I'll get my legs back. Like, it's a fact. I cannot do anything to change it. So yeah, that was sort of like one of the the biggest moments where it was sort of like, yeah, actually, you know what, this is my life now. I'm young. I'm still fit, hopefully. It's going to be a change, but it's going to be a challenge. And yeah, let's step up to it and figure out how I overcome it. And then so I started setting, I didn't realize it at the time, but this is what I did. I started setting myself little goals. So I couldn't drink. They were dipping a sponge on like a lollipop, but a sponge in some water, and I had to suck on that. And I was like, that was the most frustrating thing of my life, because all I wanted to do was down a glass of water. So the first thing is I'm gonna start drinking water again, because that's my first thing. And then it's like, okay, get better, sit up. And then from sitting up, it's like, how do I get more mobile, and how do I get my balance back? And all of these little steps, all these 1%ers. Eventually, by the end of the year, I was pretty much mobile in my wheelchair. I couldn't do everything I wanted to, but a year after injury, being up mobile in a wheelchair is a lot better than being bedbound. So for me, it was that accept what you can, if you can accept it. There's no way I can bargain or lie my way out of this situation. It's an absolute fact. Not one like alcohol is, because alcohol you can just be like, oh yeah, but I'm only having a couple a night, and that's all right. But if you're doing that for 10 years, you've got a problem. So it's a lot easier to sort of excuse your way out of it when it's something that can be, but when it's an undeniable, you've got no legs. Oh, well, if I just do this, I'll come back. Not really. No. So yeah, acceptance is a huge one. 1% goals, an achievable goal, every day, even if it is just today I haven't opened a jar before. I'm going to see if I can open a jar. Okay, that's difficult. Tomorrow, you're going to know what to do. I need to buy a jar holder, or I need to buy a mat or something, or, whatever it is to make life easier for tomorrow. And yeah, and these are things that I just did naturally. I didn't really have a name for them at the time. It was just sort of this is how I gained my independence back. And then, yeah, my dad had given me the sort of focus point. It's going to be, you're going to learn how to read, because it took me all the way till 2014 until I was discharged from the military. So I was sailing in between that time. The primary focus is getting good legs to walk on prostheses. And then secondary to that, in my spare time, is instead of just sitting on PS4 playing COD, I'm going to go sailing. So it really gave me that shift into sport that, serve my country in the military, I can serve my country in sport, which is a great driving force for that, keeping fit and moving forward. And then 1% gains, especially in a sport, it all made sense to me again. Again, I didn't realize I was doing that at the time. I was just, this is what I've got to do. And now I think a lot of people like to put memes to it, they like to have these mantras. And so for me, it'd be, so what now? So what now today can I do that's going to make tomorrow better?
Yeah. It's interesting because in business, as you say, people put memes to it. I think it gets talked about a lot. But actually, you're sat there, lying there in such a bad way. To have that mindset is absolutely phenomenal and just incredible. And you must have taken that forward for the sail as well, because long days, open water, you must have just gone to the next point, just in those small snippets to get across that 7,500 nautical miles.
It's much like dealing with alcoholism, just one day at a time. You can't plan for tomorrow if the weather's going to be bad, because you just don't know. You don't know what the wind's going to do. You don't know if anything's going to break tomorrow. But I know today nothing's broken. So it is very much that. This is why I actually don't like 5-year plans. I've got no idea what's going to happen in a year. None of us do. You can plan all you want, but then if it doesn't happen the way that you planned it, you're going to be upset. So I try not to have any expectations in anything as well. It's served me well, but I'm not a businessman, and I understand that some businesses do have to have that. However, for me, in my daily life, it has been, let's just take every single day as it comes. I'll plan tomorrow, I'll plan next week, fine. I'm not going to do a 5-year plan. In the sail, it was sort of are you going to see big waves and are you going to see storms? I've got no idea. I know as much as you do. I'll just take it as it comes. I'll plan, like, I'll have all the gear on board. So I'll plan if for the eventuality of there being one, but I'm not going to have it rigged up 24/7 because it'd be a waste of time.
Yeah. Do you think it was were you always like that as a child growing up, or was it the military training that gave you that outlook to be prepared to have everything lined up just in case?
I mean, so the military definitely taught me some things. I think overall, discipline, great. Be responsible for the things that you are responsible for and actually take ownership of that. Great. But in terms of leadership, I was the lowest rank you can be, and I led nobody into nothing. So, you know, it was very structured. I was told what to do pretty much all of the time. But that, like, train hard, fight easy has always been something that, you know, I was a teenager when I joined, so it wasn't like it was a massive shift in psychology. I was still learning. So there were no real epiphanies or anything. It was just sort of like a slow burn learn state that, you know, like show up early. I don't do that anymore. Like I try and be on time. I don't need to show up early for anything. It's like if it's a mega important thing, okay, I'll be around, I'll be present, but I'm not going to be 15 minutes early to something just to wait for them to be late. Because that's usually the case. Like rush to wait. Okay, that's a military thing that it's taught me. It's like lining up on an airport, you know. It's like get there 3 hours early. Oh, okay, you have to do that. I really don't like it because I'm just waiting around. But now I get my phone out and now I'm scrolling, wasting time. So yeah, the military taught me some very, very good stuff. And I think the one thing that the military tried or tries to teach a lot of people is resilience, but because they haven't been taught how to deliver resilience correctly, it just gets confused as toxic. So like man up. They're trying to say be resilient, but they're doing it in an aggressive, completely wrong way, I believe. So if they were like, look, I know it's really difficult right now. What we've got to try and do is just get over this point, accept our fate. This is it. Let's move on. Instead of just turn around, man up. What does that mean, man up? Are you manning up right now? Like, I don't know. So I get the idea behind it, and I think we've all heard the term man up in our lives, but I believe what that really is trying to signify is be resilient. It's a lot easier to just say be resilient. Like, I know what that means.
It's a really interesting way of saying it, and I've never really thought about it in that way. But you're absolutely right. It is be resilient, make the most of it.
Yeah,
you know, do something. Like, you know, all of that.
Crying about something. It's like, man up, okay. Be a bit more stoic. Okay, yeah, cool. Like, what does stoic mean? Oh, try not to let your emotions like guide what you're doing right now. Oh, great. Now I'm learning. Brilliant. Okay, let's not be mega emotional about this. It's happened. I accept it. Let's move on. Yeah, I didn't know anything about stoicism when I was in the military. Like, I didn't even know it was a word. Didn't know anything about it. Obviously, I knew Marcus Aurelius was a leader, but I didn't know his principles or anything. And I think a lot of ranking personnel mean well. I think they really mean well. They want the best out of their soldiers. They just do it the wrong way. Is my personal take on it. Yeah.
I think you could probably translate that across into business as well, to be honest. There's a lot of leaders that mean well, want to do well, use all the right words, resilience probably being one of them. But actually, day to day, most people have very little. It's relative, I understand. But most people have a very little to kind of really get over sometimes and be resilient too.
Most of the thing is just daily inconveniences. You know, it's going to rain. Oh, I haven't brought an umbrella. You know, okay. You're going to get wet.
Yeah, absolutely. And as they say, there's no bad weather, just bad dress or the wrong dress.
Yeah, and that, like, can you say then, or did the military prepare you to bring all of the necessary equipment? He's like, what, an umbrella? Like, so it's sort of that same preparation thing. I think sailing overall has taught me more about my whole life and how to be than anything else. Because like I've been on a boat where I didn't have a spare of whatever, and the thing's broken, and I've gone, oh wow, I'm an idiot. I didn't have a spare of that. oh, and it's not even an expensive bit. I just didn't have a spare. Okay, that's stupid. So then it's like, I've learnt the very worst way you could learn. The hard way is do it all wrong. So I know what to do right. Fortunately, realistically, that's all experience is. Having enough wrong things that don't end you happen to survive them and go, oh, okay, well, that happened wrong. Cool. Because if everything went correct in your life, yeah, cool. Like, nothing's gone wrong. I've never been rained on. Every time I go to the light, it's green. Every time I walk over a crossing, it's on walk. Like, yeah, you'd be the luckiest person on earth. But that's just unfortunately not how life is. And yeah, character building or resilience building, whatever you want to call it, is just if enough negative things happen to you that you can survive, then your experience is going to be better if it happens again.
And being prepared is so important with that, like you say. And on the boat, and I saw one of your videos where your boom came off. How do you even prepare for something like that? Had that happened before, going back to what you were just saying, had you had a boom come off before, did you know what to do in the middle? And it was in the dark, I believe. I think I saw on the video.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
So my usual, well, first off, it wasn't scary. It could have been dangerous. However, being in the sailing world like I have, I've taken off many booms, so it wasn't unexpected, or it wasn't an experience that I couldn't do. You can go to a boat in a marina, take your boom off, and go, look, this is what happens if it's out at sea. Push it around. Cool. We're in a marina. We're safe. Easy, right? So that would be like training hard. Like. It's in a marina, it's controlled, it's good. So when it does happen out at sea, you can go, like I did, oh wow, my boom's come off. I wasn't upset by it, I was sort of like amused. And
I kind of got that feeling from the video, if I'm honest. I did see it, and I did think, you don't look particularly perturbed by this at all.
Bothered by it all, yeah. Whereas some other people who are in that YouTube world may over dramatize things. I really dislike that type of fluff. So for me, I'd already been outside and had a look at it and gone, oh yeah, cool. There's no issue here. I'll go get my camera and so I look at the camera and I say, oh, my fucking boom's come off. Let's go have a look. So yeah, it happened to me before. I knew how the mechanism worked. So even if that hadn't happened to me before, I'd have still used the same principle. First thing I can do that's going to make everything safe. Okay, the boom's swinging around. I've got to stop that happening. So if that hits me in the head or side of the head, it could knock me out. Cool. Secure that off. Tie a rope around it, put it that way. Okay, now the back of the boom's swinging out. Okay, I'll tie that off as well. Easy. So that's two things tied off. You got an invitation there.
Yeah, that's my boy.
Yeah, I'm waiting for mine to come in. And so I tied it off. I was like, that's like actionable step that's going to help me in this recovery. And then I was like, you know what? It's not windy. It's not really that wavy. It's just wavy enough to swing the boom about. I was like, look, I'm just going to drop the sail. So I dropped the sail, and then you don't see it on video, but I look at the camera and I'm like, cool, that's a fix. I'm going to go back to sleep and wait till morning. So I waited till morning, and then I fixed it. Took a few hours to get right. I don't know if I can really visualize it. But there's a pin that goes over like 2 slots. It's got to go in between that pin and in between the bottom pin, but it came from underneath. So I had to lift the boom with a rope and then push it in and then knock the pin up and then secure it with a screw. But the screw had broken, so it just kept on slipping down. It's happened to me before. That exact thing has happened to me before on my old boat. So yeah, then I get into like an innovation phase, and I'm like, how can I make that better so it'll never happen again? Or if it does happen again, how can I make it so it's an easier thing to spot? What I ended up with was I drilled a hole right through the middle of the pin and I put a split pin on it. Never going to drop out again. Easy. But yeah, like, yeah. There's one thing that happened to me on the boat that has never happened before. And one thing that I've always feared happening is there's a big sail that you use on the front of the boat. It's like kite material. It's really thin. And that pulls you forward when it's light winds. A rope snapped on the bottom of it, holding it down. So it was sort of flying in the air a bit wrong. And I had to get it back into the boat to fix. And I was like, oh wow, all right, because the danger is it goes under the boat. You either lose the sail or it gets wrapped around your propeller and you lose your engine, or like it just gets devastating if it goes really wrong. And there's me on video going, don't you dare go under that boat. I'm like talking to it like a child. I'm like, don't you dare. Bloop, straight under the boat. And I'm like, oh man. And I have like a whole preamble on it. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get this down without it going under the boat, but I'm going to try. So I try and do all the things that I said, and nothing really worked. And then it went under the boat. I was like, okay, it was inevitable. It was going to happen. And I'm like, again, I'll just sit there once it's under. Because once it got under the boat, it's not doing anything more. It's there now. Okay. The problem has happened. Now what do I do? And so I maybe took 30, 40 minutes to just sit down and go, what do I actually do to get this out? I tried a few things. It wasn't really working. There was no way I was just going to pull it out because the weight of the water was just far too great. And it was a new problem. So I'd not experienced it. But instead of being like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Sort of like, how do I fix this? And like really seeing it as a Sudoku puzzle sort of thing. You know, what number goes next? Yeah. The first time, so it happened twice this. The first time I ended up disconnecting the top of the sail from the wire that secures it. Pulled the wire up, and then the sail was a lot freer. So then I just ended up pulling it out the water with a winch. That put a little tear in it, and I was like, okay, so that's not the way to do it. It's gonna save the sail, but is a way I got it back out of the water to stop any further issues. And I was like, cool. I've got the sail back on board, stick it in a locker, have some food, have a coffee. Well, that was a nightmare. And then when I think it was like a week later, I was like, right, I'll get the sail back out and have a look. What I had to do was I had to connect that wire that I said, it's an anti-torsion wire. It's what the sail wraps around. I had to connect that back up. But what I'd done is I'd twisted the head of the sail into a knot, completely incorrect. And I thought I'd done it correctly, but I just shouldn't have put it back up. Anyway, as I put the sail up, it filled, and I fixed the first issue where the rope snapped. I've now got a shackle on there and a new piece of rope, and that's all fixed. I diagnosed what the actual issue was, and it was a quality control issue. There was a burr on the shackle that was chafing my line. Great. So I've diagnosed, fixed, and then put it up. I've created another problem. And I'm looking at it, I'm going, no, that's got a knot in the top of the sail. I was like, maybe I can pull it in. No way. Absolutely no way. So round 2, here we go. Because it's been a few days and I was sat there thinking about it quite heavily over the few days. Like, how could I have done that better when it did go under the sail, under the boat? I was like, cool, engine on. So I put my opposite engine on and went into reverse, and the weight of the water pushed it all forwards, and then I just winched it up. And I was like, yeah, done it. You know, I was like, all I needed was one experience, and then I've sussed it. Yeah, good, easy. So, and that's not because it happened. It was because I had a nice amount of time to really think about what the solve was. And then as soon as it went under, and I was like, oh, please don't go under. Okay, right, it's gone under. Cool. Go downstairs, turn the batteries on. Engine's on. I'm in reverse. Ha, got you. Not this time. And it took me about an hour to get back in. So yeah, really, really happy with all that sort of stuff. But I didn't prepare for that. I couldn't prepare for that.
But you obviously made the most of it, and like you said, you had the time. I think as you're talking through that, so I've done a bit of sailing, so I kind of get some of that, and I'm hopefully you've described it really well, so I hope people can understand what that's like.
Great. I hope I have.
What gets me about all of that is, yeah, that's fine, that's cool. I've sailed, out of Torquay. I've done a little, jaunt round. You are in the middle of the Pacific with no one, with nothing, no land, just in the middle of nowhere with all of that going on. And I think that probably just blows my mind more than anything.
Yeah, I suppose that's the bit I missed out.
Yeah, but that's because you were
while all of this is I am literally thousands of miles from land in any direction. Yeah, Yeah,
And
that's
I'm going
quite.
to hazard a guess that 99% of people in general cannot fathom what that is like at all. I don't know how many people have sailed across the Pacific. It's going to be a very low number. Never mind, as you say, breaking 2 world records as a triple amputee is just, the mind boggles. I'm sure I could probably have 1,000,001 different questions about actually how do you manage? You have one hand, you have prosthesis. Absolutely incredible. My biggest question is, you went back to sleep. Just explain to me and to everybody how you managed to sleep on a boat that's sailing in the middle of the ocean.
Well, as I say, I had help from sponsors, and so what that enabled me to do was to get a lot of equipment that has alarms. So the autopilot steers my boat for me. And that's quite a common thing on many cruising boats. All it does is keeps the heading. It's got a compass, and when the boat moves, it counters that thing. I've broken that down into mega layman's terms, but that is all it does. It's like it's like cruise control. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
cruise control on your car, except for my steering. Then I have a thing called AIS, which is an automatic identification system. All big cargo ships are legally bound to have that system on as well, so I can detect via radio if a big ship's gonna collision with me, and if a boat comes within 10 miles of my boat while out at sea, my whole alarm system starts screaming, and it'll wake me up very easily. Then I have high wind alarms. So if the wind gets past a certain speed, it'll scream at me. Uh, and I have alarms set every 2 hours anyway, so I never sleep a full 8 hours like we do. Monophasic sleep pattern. I entered a polyphasic sleep pattern, which is, broken up throughout the day. So the granny naps, I had like 4 or 5 of them throughout the day. And, I'd wake up at sunrise, say 4 a.m., check on the boat, have breakfast, have a coffee. Then sometimes I'd just go back to sleep on the helm or something. Wake up 2 hours later and be like, oh, yeah, cool, still going the same way. Because all my alarms are already set. If I hear a beep, 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 I know there's something wrong. And whether I'm awake or asleep, those alarms are set. Because it's just good practice. So that's basically how sleep works, I slept. My boat's a catamaran. It has one hull this side, one hull that side, and then
Yeah.
like where my knuckles are, there's a living space. I have a bed there, and it has like windows all the way around, so I have 360 view, and so I can just sit up in bed, look out the windows, and go, all good, back to sleep. And if there is an issue via an alarm, I can, shuffle out on my bum and then see what needs to be done to change it.
Yeah. Do you find when you know you're back on dry land momentarily that you still have that sleep pattern, or do you just crash out?
But no, I wake up every time I roll over anyway. I don't know why that is, but I wake up every time I roll over, and I'm quite a rolly sleeper. So I wouldn't say it's the same, because when I was on the boat, I would wake up fully ready to go. Like not even like, it'd just be like bing, wake, yeah, cool, what needs doing. Whereas here, when I roll over, I'm sort of like, and then fall back to sleep. It took me about 5 or 6 days to get out of that sleep pattern when I entered Japan, because the big thing is noise. You fall asleep to the noise of the wind or the noise of the waves at the back of the boat, or the autopilot is zzz, 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 zzz. Yeah, cool, everything's good. And then when something changes, a noise changes or wind picks up, it changes something on the boat and you can hear it. So I'd wake up because of that. And when I was in the marina, there was just no noise. So I was just like, oh wow, this is a bit weird. Like, I can't hear the wind, I can't hear the autopilot, I can't hear the waves. I'm like, okay. And then I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to sleep well tonight or if I'm going to sleep really poorly. But I slept very well. But yeah, still waking up middle of the night, 2 hours sitting up just because it's my norm, sitting up looking around. Oh, I don't need to. Cool, I'm in the marina. Great. Fall back to sleep. And then throughout
I
the
can
day,
imagine
because
that
I've been
silence.
because I've been napping so much, I was like, I'd get to like 11 o'clock in the morning. I'd be like, why am I so tired? Oh yeah, I'm still in that sleep pattern. I'm getting out of that sleep pattern. So yeah, 6 coffees in me and I'm good to go. But it took a while.
What did you eat and drink while you were out in the ocean. I know you had water purification because I actually saw that in one of your videos. But that's kind of a long time to be out and have food, snacks, I guess a lot of high energy. What was it like?
So I only really drink water and coffee anyway. So and by only really, I mean I literally only drink water and coffee. So that was easy. Loads of bags of coffee, water I can make forever. But I do like the occasional fizzy water with like salt and lime. But that's like that's like my sundowner sort of thing. As for food, I bought way too much and a lot of variety. I bought like 20 kilos of rice. I used 1 cup of rice throughout the whole thing. I bought tons of pasta. Pasta was like probably the main dish that I cooked. And my freezer was full of steaks and chicken and loads of stuff. I didn't catch any fish, which I'm quite not upset about, but like, what's the word? Surprised by. I just don't know how I didn't catch any fish. I had a line out every day. I didn't catch any. And then, yeah, just lots of sauces, lots of like tinned chicken, tinned beef, loads of ramen, loads of peanut butter, lots of nuts, loads of beef jerky, lots of cheeses and crackers and stuff like that, energy bars. The energy burn rate's not that bad because it's like intense but short. Oh, and then you can just sleep. So you just recover immediately, which is one of the biggest things. It's like, oh, if I'd been grinding on the winch to get the sail out of the water, I was like, wow, my shoulders are killing me. And I'd go to sleep and I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm good to go. No like aching or anything. I think that sleep pattern really, really was so natural into the sailing that I was doing. Everything was perfect. But food was a great one. By the end of the trip, last month or so, I was like cooking a pot of pasta in the morning, having 3 different meals with it. So I'd do like a spaghetti bolognese in the morning, and then I'd do like a tuna sort of pasta in the afternoon, and then I'd go like penne. And she'd be like, "Wow, I'm eating a lot of pasta," but it's great, nice and easy, you know.
What was it like when you hit land, and what did you eat first? How did you feel?
Yeah, land was great. I was really craving sushi, and it was like the second or third day that I got sushi in me, but I had loads, loads and loads of it, which is great. So I got my fill of sushi. Um, but I was actually still eating stuff off the boat because I bought so much food I needed to eat it. So yeah, I was like, oh cool, I don't have to go shopping. And people were bringing me like fruits every other day, which is really nice. So like a banana, I was just, oh wow, banana. Like get into that and not had a banana for 3 months. It was just sort of really nice to have that sort of thing. And like when I was out at sea, I wish I'd brought more flour and yeast because I like making bread and pizza and pies. And there was a point where I was like, man, I'm really craving. I bought like 8 packs of burgers, and I was like, I'm craving a burger. I'm gonna make some bread buns. Looking in all the cupboards, and I'm like, wow, I've only got this much flour and 1 packet of yeast. There's no way. Because my wife, she was like, are you really gonna make bread out there? And I was like, nah, probably not. No. She's like, you like making bread though? You probably will. And I was like, no, nah, definitely not. And she was right. Um, I
Of
absolutely
course.
wanted to. Yeah, of course. And so I used all of it, realized that I actually did have enough for a pizza, 2 burgers, and 4 pies. So I made all that in one day. Um, and I was like, yeah, I had a real fat boy day that day. Yeah, 2 burgers, 1 pizza to myself. And then the next day I ate 4 pies, which is great.
I don't think anyone's going to question, that you have a fat boy day when you're doing all of that. I think that's perfectly
Yeah, exactly. That's how I
acceptable.
felt about it as well.
No one's going to argue the toss over that one. I am sure. Uh, Look, I sit here and as I said, I've done a bit of sailing. I understand, and I'm sure people are interested to know. And you've obviously sailed for a long time now, and I think people will be interested to know what adaptations have you had to make to the boat, to the way someone would sail in a standard way. So if I went on a boat, I'm going to sail in a very different way. I've got 2 hands that I can use to pull ropes, work the winches, things like. And I've used a winch, so I know how that's kind of how hard that can be. What adaptations have you made? Because we're talking all of this, and I think it's almost, I'm sat here and I'm almost forgetting that you've had the injuries, and forgive me, it must be so hard, and yet you've done it, and I think people will just be interested to know how you've what adaptations are.
Yeah, I was thinking about this quite a lot after I got to Japan. No, you'd be able to go on my boat, and you wouldn't be able to go, that's specifically made for you. I bought an electric winch before I left, and many boats have electric winches, like not just disabled people, but an electric winch is just a good thing to have. If I damage my arm and I couldn't rotate, I can push a button. So it was more sort of a safety precaution, but there's 0 adaptations that I've made to the boat specifically for an amputee. And as I say, I was thinking about it quite a lot. I think amputees are the longest, or sailing and amputees have been married together for longer than we can imagine. Pirates did it, right?
I heard you say that on one of your videos, actually, and I did write that down because I thought that kind of made me chuckle, because you think, actually, you kind of have this classic pirate look of peg leg. You go, well, actually, but there's a reality to that.
Yeah, it's probably the longest disabled sport that's ever been, which is great. So I'm really following in the footsteps of traditional amputees, which I quite like. And it does prove that amputees and sailing just does not matter, like in many ways. It's a bit of a blessing when you're going into the engine room and you can just, create space. Oh, now I've took my legs out there and now I'm sat face to face with it. And there's no like bending of your knees and putting your feet behind your head and stuff. There's no yoga for me for that. But there are definitely things that I do that are a lot different to able-bodied sailors. And this is where you might say I have adapted, but it's my technique that I've adapted heavily rather than the boat itself. So a normal able-bodied person may start reefing at like 20 knots on a catamaran. I do it at 15 just because I want a stable boat. I don't want a boat that's like that, because anytime that a boat's a bit over, it's a lot harder for me to walk. So I'm a very conservative sailor in terms of a stable boat, which all that does is mean that my gear's going to last longer. It's a lot comfier for my kids and wife who get seasick. So yeah, it has more than one purpose. And I'm not racing anymore. I don't need to have the gunnels in the water to feel that, I'm going fast, yay. So that's one thing. The way that I tie knots and my mindset on how I come about doing a job is so different that when I say, oh, I would do it like this, people look at me and go, why? And I'm like, oh, well, first of all, how many hands are you using? And they're like, well, 2. Take one away. How would you do it? Like, I've got no idea. It's like, cool, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the other day I was with Renata's cousin and we were emptying the oil out of he's got a pedal and pop. He's emptying the oil out of it and he's lifted it above his head and he's undoing the bolt at the bottom. I'm like, why are you doing it that way? And he's like, how else do you do it? I was like, lift the top off and pour it out. He's like, what? Why would you do it like that? I was like, oh, that's how I do it, because I'm one-handed, right? And it was completely absurd to him. He's just like, no, you lift it up and unscrew the bottom. I was like, yeah, cool. We've got different ways of doing it. It's fine. So yeah, it's that sort of thing that has been the biggest highlight. And it was kind of one of the things that when I was doing my yacht masters last year, the instructor didn't really like. So he was like, oh, you need to work on your rope handling skills. And I was like, I've been working on my rope handling skills for the past 12 years. I'm not saying they're the best in the world. I'm saying I've cultivated a technique that is best for me. If you disagree with that, all it is an opinion. It's not an issue. Like, it's not a thing that you can mark me on. And then he's like, yeah, why don't you just do it like this? And I'd do it like that if I was only one-handed. I was like, yeah, but how are you doing it like that? And he's stood up and he gets one hand. He was like, yeah, but you're using your legs stood up on a rocky boat. Why would I do that? He's like, all right. Okay. So he only thought of the hand. He didn't think of the legs. So it's that sort of thing where you're like, look, I've really thought about this for the past, 12 years I've been sailing. I really, really think about it. And if I'm doing something that looks weird to you, it's because it's actually the best thing for me.
And it's that practicality that clearly you've gained over those years of doing it rather than the right way. But the Yachtmasters, out of interest, is the Yachtmasters designed for disabled people as well, or is it just an able-bodied qualification?
No, you can do it as a disabled person. I think it's outdated, the things that they make you do. In my mind, having sailed halfway around the world, I think they could focus on different things. I think that they should have a bit of a readjustment of the system. It kind of feels like it's more gatekeepery and tick boxy rather than to display true seamanship. I've got yachtmaster friends. I've got yachtmaster friends who are struggling sailing their boats right now. I was like, how are you struggling to sail your boat? You're a yachtmaster. I was like, I don't know anything about engines. I was like, yeah, but you're a yachtmaster. He's like, yeah, but my yachtmaster didn't teach me anything about engines. I was like, that's why the yachtmaster's not great. I was like, it should come with a diesel mechanics course. It should come with a 12-volt electrics course. It should come with a plumbing course. You know, it should be able to fix a boat. All a yachtmaster for me is you're entering a pristine, brand new boat and you can sail it from point A to point B to deliver it. That's all a yachtmaster is to me.
I'm sure there's probably a whole nother podcast episode around
I could bash that all day, if I'm honest.
All the other qualifications that we are made to believe are so helpful and necessary in life, but are just that tick box exercise. So I shall move swiftly on. I saw on one of your videos 2 things I just want to touch on before we finished. And I think it's just a culmination of everything you've talked about. Is you talked about your son and pot washing and, you know, not wanting to do something but having to do it. So I want to touch on that briefly. I want to ask you about that. And then I want to ask you about the I can't mentality, which I think the two come hand in hand. I said, off camera, I have children. And yet, washing up is definitely one of those things. But it's a whole raft of things. And everybody has examples, whether it's with your children or with yourself, when you, Monday morning, you just don't want to get up and do X and Y. And then that I can't mentality. And I'm a big fan of I can't yet. And I think you talked about that. Touch on both of those for me, if you don't mind, around how you prepare your son for the world that's coming in that mentality.
Well, I'm trying my hardest. So basically, it's there's a proper word for it, but choosing to do things that you don't really want to do, but doing them anyway. It's like putting yourself in that situation. I don't want to go for a run, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's character building. It gives you that kick that nothing else actually really does give you. Because when you do things that you don't want to do, whatever grows in your brain grows. And David Goggins does a whole big thing on this. He's gone into the science behind it. But when you do that, it actually builds resilience. It builds confidence. It builds loads of stuff. And so, yeah, my son, he one day when we were sailing, did on his own, didn't ask him to do it. He washed the pots. He just got his pot that he'd done and he rinsed it. Didn't do it properly, but he did the motions of how to wash a pot. And I said to him, I was like, you want to watch what you've just done now, man? He's like, why? He's like, because I've seen you wash the pots. I know you can do it. He's like, oh. He's like, so every day we'll wash the pots, eh? He's like, no, I don't want to. And then I said to him, I had the opportunity to be able to say to him, it's like, but when we do things that we don't want to do, that's how we grow. And that's how you become a better rounded person. And that's you know, a really defining character of a resilient, strong person. And still now, like, I think it was the other day, we've got a dishwasher in the place we're staying. And I was like, come on, mate, let's get the dishes done. He's like, no, but I don't want to. I was like, come on, mate. Because anytime he does something like that, I reward him with a bit of food, peanut butter or whatever, you know, a snack or something. And positive reinforcement's always better than negative. And it's sort of like, oh, we're not going to watch TV until you do this with me. Because I don't want you watching TV, but I'm going to let you. That's something I don't want to do, but you don't want to do the pots. So we're both going to do something we don't want to do, and then we'll both be happy at the end of it. He's like, okay, yeah. But he misunderstood me the other day. He's like, I don't want to do the pots. He's like, come on, mate. Come on, we're going to do the pots. Me and you do the pots. That's how it is. And he's like, yeah, but I need a chair. I was like, what do you mean you need a chair? And he thought we were going to hand wash them, right? So not only is he problem solved, he can't reach the sink, He needs a chair to reach the sink. He's gone into something he truly didn't want to do, and something I wasn't going to do. They actually wash the pots by hand. I was like, no, mate, we've got a dishwasher. So much easier. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do that with you. Yeah, yeah. And like, the outcome's the exact same. The pots are going to get clean. But his mindset was so much different to hand washing them, getting a chair, dragging the chair, standing on the chair, doing all the pots. And we still have a great time when we're doing it. But yeah, that's sort of a big thing for me. I'm struggling with that with my daughter. Because, yeah, I don't want to be that guy, but little boys and little girls are so different. Yeah, whoever says they're not is just living in a fairy tale. They are so different. Like I'll never be able to logic.
And 3 girls.
Right. So I'll never be able to logic that into my daughter. Yeah, come on, we'll do something negative to get something good out at the end of it. So no, I'm not doing that. And then she'll just go full meltdown. I don't know how to deal with that yet. But yeah, and the first time I went onto GB News, Eamon Holmes was talking about his disability. He's in a wheelchair, and he focuses on oh, I can't do that. Well, that's the wrong thing. You need to be focusing on what can you do, or what could you try. I can't drive a truck, right? Because I haven't got a license for it, etc. Could I? Probably, yeah, if I tried. I just haven't tried. So yeah. Can't, but it's not like oh no, I can't do that, oh poor me. It's like, oh no, it's just because I haven't tried. Even just that mindset in for me, it's not a big deal. I'll just try. Like, it's not a depressive I can't, you know. Can you sprint? No, I don't have my running legs with me. Oh, but if you had your running legs, could you? Yeah. And that's usually like the sort of questions my children ask me is like, so my daughter, she'll like be struggling with opening something. Just, do you want daddy to do it? She's like, no, daddy's not got 2 hands. I was like, I know, but I can still open it. And he's like, look, I'll bite it open. And then daddy did it. I was like, yeah, because I tried. You know, if I just said, oh, I can't do it because I don't have 2 hands, I'd have never have been able to do it. So yeah, it's sort of like trying to get that mentality in as well. Is like, I want you to at least try. Because if you don't try, then you've completely failed. So yeah, when kids are doing something scary on the slide, or a new toy they've not played with, or they're in the dark or something, or yeah. And my son the other day needed to go and get a blanket out of the other room. And he was like, oh, I'm scared of the dark, there's monsters. I was like, well, monsters only live in the dark, so if you turn the lights on, you'll be okay. And he was like, so then he turns all the lights on, gets his blanket, turns all the lights off. I was like, how are the monsters? Like, no monsters. Ah, cool, you're all right then. It's these. My son's very much a problem solver, and he combines the 2 words of German and English. In German, it's flicker, to fix something, and in English, it's fix. So he says we're flixers. And he sits there, and he will like literally just look at us, and he's like, "Daddy, this needs fixing." And he's like, "Okay, so what do we need to do?" And I'll like go through the stages of the project solving it. And he loves it. He absolutely loves it. Whereas my daughter, it's a bit of a struggle. I need to try and get something in there and figure that one out.
When you figure that out, can you drop me a message so I can?
Yeah, I think I'll do a series, a series on it. Yeah,
I love that. I think that's just the positivity and the can-do attitude for so many people. I think in life, in business, we talk about this positive can-do attitude, but actually it means bugger all. Because none of us really have to try that hard. You know, not really.
Yeah.
Again, it's all relative. I understand that. But
yeah.
There you are trying to open a jar. You do have 1 hand, but you just crack on and do it. You can't, it just epitomised everything you've talked about. That 1% gains, the resilience, the absolute can-do attitude is just absolutely, truly inspirational. Truly. And thank you for sharing it all. I know you did it. You've done all of this, obviously, for 2 charities. And as I said off camera, I know unbelievably, and I really do find this unbelievable, that when I first heard you on GB News, you've raised next to nothing compared to your target, which just astounded me. But you've now raised that target, 50,000, and I just hope it keeps going. Just talk a little bit about the two charities and what they've done for you, and how people can actually donate to you as well?
Yeah, for sure. So first charity is BLESMA, the British Limbless Ex-Servicemen's Association. I think they're quite well known in the UK now. However, they need as much money as they can get because they help thousands of limbless veterans every year. They'll help them from getting accommodation, anything they need, like white goods in their house, mobility aids, education. The umbrella's so wide with it's sort of like you don't know where to draw the line. They do a lot of adventure holidays. So to get people, they even do a sailing holiday actually in Greece that gets amputees sailing. So that like they help me out so much. And then the other charity is Turn to Starboard. So when I bought my boat, I was like, how am I going to learn how to do this? There's going to be no company that's going to specialize in amputees and stuff. I did a bit of Googling and found them in Falmouth, and they specialize in veterans, wounded, injured, sick. So I was like, oh, cool. They probably had amputees on before. They probably all know the gizmos. And like, I know how to tie knots. I know how to sail. I just need to learn how to do engines, electrics, charts, all that stuff. Like, in many ways, the secondary. The biggest thing for me was parking the boat under engine. I'd never done it under engine before. I'd only ever done it under sail on little boats. So that was like my big takeaway. I went down there and they were just like, cool. What do you want from us? How can we help you? And what is it you want to achieve? Told them the goal. I want to sail around the world and blah, blah, blah. I was with them for 2 weeks. They taught me all the chart stuff. And because I was like really into it, I'd done quite a lot of that at home as well. So I wasn't just going there complete noob. It was like building on skill sets I'd already started to learn. Yeah, they don't take any money from you. They've got several boats and thousands of veterans every year again. And I know sailing's expensive, but the boats are expensive, and they pay for all of the yacht masters, day skippers, the instructors. It's all paid for. So I mean, it's completely free. So yeah, they need as much help as they can get as well. Yeah. So if you want to donate, it's GiveStar and then Craig Wood. If you just go on Google, put GiveStar Craig Wood, it should come right up.
I will make sure that I put links to that in the description on the episode as well. I'll obviously share everything. I'll tag those guys in it when I share stuff as well, and obviously tag you. And people can follow you on Instagram and Facebook.
They can, yeah. Craig Wood Sales, nice and simple.
We'll put all of that on there as well. And I just hope that people listen and see what an absolutely amazing and inspirational story this really is. What's next? Let's finish on what's next. But
I'm doing some things. Basically that, yeah. I'm doing some things in the UK, and then yeah, just getting back to the boat. I've got a lot of work to do on the boat. As I say, the engine broke, so I'm essentially rebuilding that. And then yeah, be a dad. 3 babies on a boat is quite difficult, so we're going to find some crew and we're going to head down to the Philippines. Hopefully next year we'll be in Asia cruising around, which is great. And then yeah, maybe something in 2027, but I'll announce that closer to the time. Yeah.
Amazing. Craig, thank you so much. Come back and see me in 6 months, whenever, and let's see what you're doing. I'd just love to carry on the conversation. If you find yourself in South Devon, drop me a message. It'd be really good to come and see you and see the boat. Honestly, such an inspiration to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all you're doing. Again, I find you truly inspirational, and I hope that you raise as much money for these charities and as much awareness as these causes deserve. And just thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Cheers.
Thank you, man. Take care.
Thanks.